Can you be sexy and sensible at the same time? We'll find out this week on Motoring 2002.
TSN's Motoring 2002 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them. And Midas. Keep a good thing going. Go Midas.
You know, when I was young, I thought I knew what was cool. And when it came to cars, Volvo and their drivers were not cool. I mean, the cars looked like boxes, and the drivers, well, especially the men, sported bushy beards and wore sandals. Well, I don't know about the beards, but everybody's wearing sandals today, and Volvo continues to prove that they can design a cool car. And you know, it all began with the introduction of the C70, when Volvo finally threw away the box and kept the toy. But for many reasons, the C70, despite being a good car, has simply fallen off the sales chart. Well, the S80 and the S60 have taken up the slack and proven to be successful vehicles. But you know, Volvo has not forgotten what has gotten them here this far, and that is safety. Well, we're here on the Atlantic coast in the state of Maine to meet a car that Volvo believes is not only sexy, but could be one of their safest cars as they prepare to enter the European sports sedan shootout. There are sedans, sports sedans, and the flavor of the day, all-wheel drive sedans. Following the launch of the Volvo S80, Volvo showed they had a sporty side when they introduced the S60. While that car has been a big hit in the showroom, Volvo is betting that the market is simply crying out for an all-wheel version.
I don't think it's a gamble, I think it's a great opportunity. We see it as a fantastic opportunity for Volvo. The sports sedan market here in North America is big, it's growing, it's very, very competitive. There's lots of great competitors out there. We think we offer an excellent all-round package. Safety, as you said, the durability, the longevity, but now we've added to that great design, fantastic handling, a car that is enjoyable to drive, that puts a smile on your face when you get behind the wheel. Maybe not the case with previous Volvos 5, 6, 7 years ago. These days the cars are exciting to drive, fun to drive, and a lot more attractive to the eye as well. And those are encouraging customers to come and look at Volvo and reappraise their opinion of Volvo.
All-wheel drive is really that natural platform, the natural next step for Volvo to expand on our safety base, the thing that we're most known for. And we've taken the S60 out of the S70, out of the old 850 lines, and added design and style along with dynamic handling characteristics. It's full-time, 100%. It's there when you need it most. It shifts and transfers torque from the front wheels to the back wheels, and it can go from almost nothing to 100% in the back wheel, but it will remain a front-wheel drive driven car as the primary source of power.
The all-wheel drive enhances the car. It gives us something else to offer our customers with that product. It's a growing marketplace. The all-wheel drive technology is something that consumers are asking for. We're seeing enormous growth in the all-wheel drive segment. We have a car that can deliver in a package that I think people would expect from Volvo Car Corporation.
I think Volvo's taken a large step towards saying that they want to join some of the mainstream in doing some things that a lot of sharp sedan owners are looking for, which is sexy and safer. And I think the safer may be the notion that dependability comes from all-wheel drive. I think the ability to hold the road with four-wheel drive is significantly different than it has been in the past with two-wheel or front-wheel, and that they've decided that they want to add that to their repertoire.
You're going to feel a little bit of a difference between the front-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive, but specifically it'll give you a little more feeling of confidence in your driving skills. Obviously the easiest place to point out would be in the bad weather, inclement weather situations. But if we're in a situation that's a panic stop, a panic steer, you can steer the car much easier and it'll keep you out of a skid.
Volvo is now a member of Ford's Premium Group, which means extra cash.
Yeah, the Ford relationship's been great in that particular respect, because for us as an independent company, we couldn't have had the money to make these product development advances that we've made in the time frame that we're now making them in. We are being left alone by Ford to nurture ourselves, to grow, to do it in a Volvo way. And I think that's very important. The brands are being kept very separate. They've been able to develop amongst what they do best and invest in what they do well.
People demand more than just safety in the car. They want something that looks good, feels good, makes them feel good about themselves. And we've taken it to the next step. Now we've taken safety so that it's just not a square, boxy, boring concept. We've added design and style to the performance and dynamic handling.
We are attracting new audience in our cars that did think Volvo as a boxing and boring car company. Now they're seeing Volvo with new lines, new platforms, a car that can enhance their lifestyle, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. And the emotion goes right through our whole organization, right to the manufacturing and production.
I think they've succeeded in the pricing. I think you're still going to have to get those people who believe the ultimate drive is the BMW out of their BMWs and into an affordable S60.
Now that's what I call grip. My perspective on four-wheel drive later on Kenzie's Corner.
First of all, the speedo's marked in odd numbers. So when you're travelling at the common speed limits, 40, 60, 80 and 100k, you're looking at a line on the thing. Yeah, like. Speak English. You know, a while ago the penny dropped and Jaguar recognised the fact they were missing out on a huge and very lucrative segment of the market, namely the near luxury vehicle. Well, this week on Test Drive we take a look at the X-Type Jaguar, a car set to go head to head with the BMW 3 Series and Mercedes-Benz C-Class.
Just a few short years ago, Jaguar had but two models, a large sedan and a seductive coupe. The introduction of the S-Type doubled sales, and Jaguar are hoping to do the same thing again with the new X. While the base model comes with a 2.5-litre V6, the engine of choice is going to be the 3-litre unit and its 231 horsepower. Not only does it bring much better mid-range performance, it ups the torque from 180 to a worthwhile 209 at a low 3,000 RPM. The net result is spirited performance and the decorum required of a Jaguar engine, primarily because of the variable valve timing. It also shaves the acceleration time by about 1.5 seconds, dropping it from 8.5 to 7 even. As for transmissions, there are two 5-speed units, a mediocre manual box and a slick shifting automatic. While the manual car is marginally faster, the automatic seems to hook up with the engine in a more refined manner. The only annoyance is the lack of a manumatic mode. While Jaguar says the shifter can be used in this manner, trust me, it's a clumsy operation.
The platform for the X-Type comes courtesy of the European Ford Mondeo. Now, unfortunately for Jaguar, it is a front-wheel drive vehicle and really not what they were looking for. The answer? Well, it comes in the form of a full-time all-wheel drive system, one that sees 40% of the power fired through the front wheels, but more importantly, 60% is sent to the back. The result, when you start to push this thing, it feels like a rear-wheel drive car and therefore a real Jaguar. The bonus in all of this for us lot, mind you, the full-time all-wheel drive system is a godsend in our very unpredictable climate.
In operation, the all-wheel drive system is transparent to the driver, meaning it does its thing without upsetting the dynamics of the car. Jaguar also did a good job of quelling the normal vibrations associated with a long drive shaft. The secret lies in a fairly slow rotational speed. This simple bit of engineering cuts down the amount of whip, smoothing the transfer of power.
Slip behind the wheel of the X-Type and you'll find a very inviting interior, as you expect in a Jaguar. However, that's not to say there aren't a few problems. First of all, the speedo's marked in odd numbers. So when you're in a 40, 60, 80 or 100k speed limit, you're looking at a slash mark on the dial instead of a real number. Then you get to this monstrosity in the middle, the navigation system. In order to get it, you've got to fork out $2,000 for the premium package, $600 for this passenger seat, and then another $3,900 for the nav system itself. And it's very mediocre, unlike its price. The problem is, in fairness to Jaguar, is that the digitized mapping is anything but thorough. So do yourself a favor, keep the $3,900 and put it towards your insurance.
Riding on McPherson struts up front and a multi-link design in back, the damping and spring rates bring a good balance between the quest for comfort and the need to handle the twisty bits. The system works well, as was evident through the pylons. Body roll is controlled, and thanks to the 60/40 power split, the handling is neutral, meaning understeer is benign, yet when pushed the rear end will swing out, which adds to the allure. The variable assist rack and pinion steering helps the overall feel appreciably. On the highway there's enough feedback to let you know what's going on, yet it's pinky light when it comes time to park.
The back end of the X-Type has been well thought through. To begin with, you get an ultrasonic parking control system. Now this thing picks up things like these pylons or a bike that's been left behind the car and warns the driver with an audible beep telling you to get out and check out what's back there. You also get a real button to open the deck lid. That means there's no fumbling for a fob or reaching inside to find a button. Then you've got these cantilever rear hinges. Not only do they not crush anything placed beneath them, they don't eat into the usable trunk space. At the back, there's a 70/30 split folding rear seat, which adds versatility to an already large and roomy trunk, but the best bit, you know, is right here. There is a full-size spare tyre, albeit mounted on a rather tinny looking rim.
A large set of disc brakes and a good anti-lock system with electronic brake force distribution puts a short halt to the proceedings. The anti-lock also sees duty in the dynamic stability control system. When added to the all-wheel drive, it makes for one very sure-footed ride. On the safety front, the X-Type is reasonable, bringing front and side airbags, as well as adjustable seatbelt anchors and pre-tensioners for the front seat riders.
You know, this new X-Type is well worthy of wearing a Jaguar nameplate, and with an entry-level price of just under $43,000, you can't argue with it. Perhaps the only problem is that this vehicle tips the scales at almost $57,000, and that's primarily because of that nav unit. Delete that and $53,000 for this car, and well, the shine comes off a little bit, but it's still a wonderful vehicle. It's time to update our long-term Trailblazer. Now, since picking it up, everybody that's driven it, without exception, has had nothing but praise. Praise for the engine, praise for the comfort, and praise for the versatility. But that's not to say we haven't had problems. The four-wheel drive system, well, it's never gone into four-wheel drive since the day we picked it up. It's going in to get repaired, which is just as well, because the other day the engine started to run terribly and the check engine light came on. The engine hunts between about 750 and 1250 RPM, making it difficult to drive the vehicle. Now that raises an interesting issue. What should you do? As long as it's an amber light, you can get it in sooner rather than later, but make sure you do get it in, because if it's running poorly, you're hurting the environment, it makes the truck unnecessarily difficult to drive. We'll have a full update on what was wrong with the four-wheel drive and the engine.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns starter motors. Somewhere underneath your vehicle is a 12-volt starter motor similar to this one, responsible for cranking that engine over. In most cases, it only takes a momentary crank for the engine to fire up. However, if you run into problems like run out of fuel or have some tuning problem that requires an extended period of cranking, you've got to be aware that these things are not intended for continuous duty. 10 to 15 seconds of continuous cranking is the absolute maximum, followed by several minutes of cool down time for the starter motor to cool down so you don't damage it. Now, if you run into problems and the car won't crank at all, it's an often used trick by tow truck drivers or motor league personnel to get underneath the vehicle and hit the starter motor with a hammer while you're trying to start the vehicle. If the starter motor has worn brushes, this is a viable thing and will get it started. However, on modern cars with permanent magnet starter motors, they're a little bit on the fragile side, so you can't hit them too hard with a steel hammer. Use a plastic hammer or a piece of wood, and you only have to jar them slightly if the brushes are worn to get that last crank that'll get you going. It's a trick you can use, but you've got to go easy so you don't do damage. That's your Midas tip of the week.
For the 2000 model year, we introduced a trim level of Sentra called the SE. It's more of a sports type version. We did very well with that, but we also had plans that after 18 months of launch, we're going to introduce this new trim level that you're driving today, the SER. The last we sold this car was back in 1994. We went 7 long years without having the SER, and it was primarily the consumers out there who have asked us to bring it back. So we have taken the same engine as what's going to be in the larger car, the Ultima 4-cylinder, 2.5 liter, 180 horsepower, and we packed it into the Sentra.
A lot of other manufacturers, especially domestics, are making a lot of money on trucks. Can you make money on these cars?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we will not compete in the segment where we don't make money. So the first thing we want to do is identify where opportunities are, talk to customers that are in that segment or look likely to go into that segment, and then make sure, first and foremost, that we're going to make money on it all.
The C70, followed by the S80 and S60, represent the emotional side of Volvo. But the good old station wagon still is the meat and potatoes for this company. And after its recent design update, I think the V70 looks pretty cool. And why can't a station wagon be cool? I mean, check this one out. A 1942 Ford Super Deluxe, better known as the Woody. We're talking a V8 engine. And you know, back in '42, this car sold for approximately $1,700. Well, it recently sold in an auction. You ready for this? It sold for $75,000 US dollars. Now, you know, Bill Gardiner's got a few clunkers sitting around the Quaker State garage, and I bet if Bill put them away, he might make a nice profit in the near future. How about it, Bill?
Well, Brad, those cars that I've got at the shop were made by the millions, and when I'm finished with them, they'll be sold by the pound just before they're crushed. But you know, just before we get rid of them, you wouldn't believe how many parts come off those cars when we're looking for some nondescript fastener, a piece of wiring, or a plug. Those old cars really come in handy. We cannibalize them to fix other ones. But what I want to talk about this week is Rain-X de-icer washer fluid. Now, I used this product last winter in all my own vehicles, and I was really impressed with the way it works. I think that many of you will be impressed when you try it as well. The neat thing about this washer fluid is that it slowly treats the windshield of the vehicle with Rain-X micropolymer technology so that any rain, sleet, or snow just slides off that windshield. It's just incredible. The wind pressure just slides it right off. But you know, as well as doing that, it also cuts through grease and grime really well. And the really neat thing about it is that it'll cut through a light layer of frost, snow, or ice without you having to wait for the heat to come up from the defroster. Now, while you're cleaning off the other windows around your car, you just give it a quick spray on the windshield and it melts that light film of frost off, and it speeds up your waiting time as you're warming up your vehicle. For full effect, of course, you want to drain the washer fluid container of the old washer fluid and fill it completely with this Rain-X washer fluid. You're going to find it works fantastically, and make sure that you keep your washer fluid bottle topped up at all times. You don't want to get caught out on the highway running out of washer fluid. I'm sure you've had it happen before when the sun's low on the horizon and you're looking into it. If you run out of washer fluid and you've got a coating of road salt on there, it can be a really dangerous situation. I had it happen to me once. It's really scary. Make sure you keep it topped up. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardiner for Motoring 2002.
years ago, you could hardly find a four-wheel drive passenger car. You had the occasional university professor in a Subaru and the occasional performance lunatic in an Audi Quattro, but today, everybody's got four-wheel drive. You've got BMW and Mercedes-Benz, Jaguar has one now, and today we're seeing the new Volvo. And all the customers say the reason they want this is for safety and security. But you know, if you talk to pickup truck drivers, they'll tell you that all four-wheel drive does for you is get you stuck deeper, farther from home, usually out of cell phone range. And in a passenger car, you could say that what four-wheel drive does for you is let you have your crash at a higher speed. Now, in the old days, the skid control school in Bronte, Ontario used to ask parents, what kind of car would you want to send your kid out on a bad winter's night? Front drive, rear drive, or four-wheel drive? And most parents would say, well, if I could afford it, four-wheel drive would be great because of the traction. But the instructor would say, well, why would you send your kid out in a car that overstates the amount of control he really has? I mean, a four-wheel drive car can accelerate great, but at some point you got to stop and turn, and four-wheel drive won't help you much. And particularly with an inexperienced driver, that could be a dangerous situation. Now, my kids have all learned to drive on rear-wheel drive cars. Yeah, they've skated off the road, but it's been at a very low speed, a low-cost lesson for them. Now, I'm all in favor of technology. These cars are terrific. They have great traction. They get you all sorts of places. But if rear drive or front-wheel drive won't get you where you want to go, maybe you shouldn't be going there. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Considering the success of the S60, Volvo was hoping for big things from the new all-wheel version. And you know, considering BMW and Jaguar, to name a few, have gone all-wheel, Volvo really had no choice but to come out with this version. The question is, does the world really need another 4x4? Well, does the world really need another sport utility? And with that in mind, Volvo is about to bring out their own sport ute very shortly. But you know, if you have to choose between the two, you gotta go with the car and the all-wheel drive system. As Volvo says, this system is meant not to take you off the road, but keep you on it. And isn't that what it's all about? That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
And if you look at the way the B-pillar is moved into the car, it means if you turn your head to the side, you're not confronted with a very big B-pillar with a seatbelt coming out of it. It's glass. So the vision is the thing in this car. It's the active safety.
TSN's Motoring 2002 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them. And Midas. Keep a good thing going. Go Midas.